Good morning, interwebs! We are live on you right now, and isn't that amazing? Clap, 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 clap. It's Monday. That means I had a nap for about 6 hours yesterday, and it was amazing. And I'm feeling refreshed and delighted. And thank you, Dan. I'm excited to see all of these faces and all of your faces out there in the interwebs, as I always do, right here in my brain pan. Spencer GIlbert,
Hey,
your
good
weekend.
good Monday. Oh, wow. The things I did this weekend. You wouldn't believe me if I told you.
Yeah, no, I don't. Dan Murrell, you actually did leave your house this weekend, is my understanding. So let's talk about. We're going to walk people through the safe way to do this in these times. I know I turned to my partner this weekend and said, "What do you want to do this weekend?" Joe, what did
Hi,
you do this weekend, and how are you feeling?
I'm feeling like this. Um, uh, my wife made us masks to protect us from the Chernobyl fumes
Uh-huh.
outside, and
Okay.
we braved the outdoors for a little while in our ninja masks.
Cool.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I think that's excellent. And actually, I'll buy one of those from you, but that's a conversation for later. Right now,
I
we are
got
going to
a
talk
mask.
face mask. We're talking about the MCU. I'm missing Cobra Commander today, but don't worry, he'll be back sometime. MCU, the phase 4 delays have come in, the whole new slate. So we're going to walk through that today and ask some questions. Maybe we'll have some answers. We'll start with Black Widow, moved into the Eternal slot in November. This is via Disney, who released this. Nearly all of the movies have been pushed back, essentially pushing one slot of phase 4 or phase 5 schedule forward. So let's walk that through now. And hopefully, what I just said will make any sense. Black Widow, as mentioned, moves to November 6, 2020. The Eternals moves to February 12th, 2021. Shang-Chi moves to May 7th, 2021. Doctor Strange moves to November 5th, 2021. Thor 4, February 28th, 2022. Black Panther 2, May 6th, 2022. This is the only one that didn't change its date. Captain Marvel 2 goes to July 7th, 2022. And this one moved up a couple of weeks from a later date in July. And this is also the first confirmation of what the movie is. It was previously listed as Untitled Marvel. Now, there's going to be more Disney updates and release date moves, a couple of which I have questions about that we'll talk about. But first, let's talk about the MCU and how this impacts it. Dan Murrell, do you think, first of all, the MCU, a lot of people, including us, have said this is basically one cinematic series of television. Do these dates moving, you think, radically impact how we view them, considering that Spider Man was set for July 16, 2021, and has not moved its date because Sony controls that. But there's lots of times where Marvel has wanted them to hold a Spider Man movie. For example, they didn't want it coming out right after Endgame, but they couldn't stop it. Do you think that they're going to butt some heads? A little headbutting.
Maybe. I think that Spider-Man is the last movie was sort of about separating itself from the MCU in the sense of like separating itself from Tony Stark and the whole ongoing storyline. So I think it's going to do what it's going to do. I think that it's not, it had to be a follow up to Avengers Endgame just because it was the next film. The last one did. This one I think it's got a little more freedom. So I don't think you're gonna have as much headbutting around like what you can reveal, what you can't reveal, when you can do a trailer, because they left that story very much about Spider-Man. Um, and then everything else, I think, is they have the weird luxury of having these dates already carved out, so they can just tell everyone to take one step back, which is what they did. Like everyone just literally took one step back. They're in a much better position than if they were, for example, in the middle of the Infinity War run and we still had all of this stuff to be resolved and who's going, what's going on, and the cliff, if it was between the cliffhanger from Infinity War to Endgame, like this for Marvel particularly, I think that they're actually in a storytelling phase where I don't think this is going to hurt them too much on several fronts, including the Spider-Man front.
One slight complication is that Disney Plus is their boon right now. People are home at least for the next little while. How people behave in the theatrical experience post COVID is still a question for many. So these movies are thematically linked to the Disney Plus Marvel TV shows, and that's where I feel like it might get a little bit complicated. Spencer, Joe, do you want to untangle that for me?
Do you want to do it together at the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll start
Yeah,
talking,
I'll start
and then you finish my sentences. So
Okay.
there's a lot of Disney Plus shows.
That are, ranging from, Star Wars to nostalgia fueled stuff to reality series.
And they tie into the movies in unexpected ways. For example, WandaVision is rumored to
Tie directly into Batman v Superman. Now, that is based on an unconfirmed rumor that I saw on Reddit. However,
I'm sorry, I just had a minor stroke. What I meant to say was, it's going to tie directly into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Sorry about that. Does anyone else smell toast?
Always.
but but in a lot of ways, that's probably a good thing because it seems like Doctor Strange needs a little bit more runway before the plane is actually able to take off. So, in some ways, maybe some more time is a blessing in disguise for the MCU.
I agree. I think this is like giving us plenty of time to miss Marvel movies, where if they started rolling back into phase 4, what was it going to start off this summer? I mean, I guess it started, but
it already would have, well, we would have had Black Widow, which was the prequel.
Yeah, and then Eternals.
So Black Widow moved into the Eternal slot in November.
Yeah, but I think that, like, I don't know. I'll be more excited to dive back into the MCU later this year than I would have been to start right back up in a couple months. Personally.
All right. Well, I'm really, really looking forward to WandaVision controlling Superman in the upcoming epic crossover of IP that just, only an apocalypse would allow the room to create between Warner Brothers and Marvel Disney.
I do think that in not just tossing it to Disney Plus, I do think we're sort of seeing some read between the lines on Black Widow, that it's not just a prequel sort of toss aside, like, you wanted a Black Widow movie, here you go. Like, I do think it's going to set up this next wave of films in a pretty meaningful way. Otherwise, I think they just tossed the wolves is a little dramatic, but I think it could have easily just gone to streaming if it was just a standalone goodbye to Black Widow.
Well, Dan, do you feel like this does perhaps complicate things for some of those Marvel TV shows going to Disney Plus?
I mean, to the degree of how much are they tied into the movies, maybe. None of the movies are moved up, so I think that if you give them more time to catch up, then potentially, I don't know at what phase they were in production for all of these different TV shows. I think if you can still deliver the TV shows at the times that you were anticipating, then you shouldn't have too much trouble. Or even in the case of WandaVision, since Doctor Strange has moved back, if they have to push WandaVision back, hopefully it'll be to the appropriate degree of time that they would have to anyway. So I think it really just depends on where were they, at what process were they, what had to shut down. Can writing continue for the shows that are in the writing phase? Can other things continue so that you're not just stopped dead in your tracks? That's the question, is like what's been done and what hasn't been done. But I think everything moving back several months gives these shows time to catch up if they need to, as opposed to the movies are on the same dates and the shows got stopped production, so they got to really catch up and get the wheels going.
I will say that of all of the movies and all of the shows, WandaVision is the number one I am most looking forward to, because it comes right out of whatever fever dream I once had that Wanda and Vision would be in some kind of rom-com that was also a David Lynch movie.
They took your pitch.
I think they took my pitch. I honestly do.
I'll say it. We've got it on the record.
I honestly do, and that's okay, because you know what? I want to see the damn thing. It looks so weird, and bold. I'm into it. I cannot wait. So there were some other things that moved on the Disney schedule. This one's pretty interesting. We'll get into this. One of the first, we had talked about the possibility of mid-range movies being the ones that they moved directly to streaming. And that feels like that's what happened with Artemis Fowl, which was going to open on Memorial Day weekend. So ostensibly there was time on that. But it's now going to debut on Disney Plus, bypassing theaters entirely and even VOD entirely. So no date has been announced yet, but that's what they're going to do with that. We'll come back to that because that's one of the ones that I have a question about. I also have a question about this next one because it feels ambitious to me. Mulan has moved to July 24th, 2020. So that's not that far off. Most people are anticipating that the stay at home, safer at home orders will stay in place probably through early June at this point. So that's showing a fair bit of confidence that moviegoers will be ready to go back for a large tentpole movie by July. I'm not convinced. Bob's Burgers, the movie, moves from July to April 9th, 2021. Jungle Cruise delayed for an entire year to July 30th, 2021, which is weird that they're not keeping it a Christmas movie, but we'll come back to that.
But at the same time, if they're not going to open up something specifically, it's cruises right now are specifically dangerous. So
Yeah.
Right, fair enough. So maybe
Jungle
they
or
just want to
otherwise.
give a little
Yeah.
time with the word cruise, has a little
Yeah.
charge on it. I honestly think you might be right. I hadn't thought about that, but you really might be right. Free Guy moves from June to December 11th, 2020. Pixar Soul has not moved and is still scheduled for June 19th, which
Wow.
seems bananas to me, 2020. So we'll get into that. This is the earliest a major movie from any studio still set to open. I have questions. And then we'll get into this one separately too, but alternating Avatar and Star Wars movies are still scheduled for December for several years, beginning in 2021 with Avatar 2 and 2022 with a new Star Wars to be done by Prophet. Indiana Jones moves back another year to July 29th, 2022, and Indy 5 has been pushed back several times. It was originally going to open in 2019, so that's its own deal. But let's break this down bit by bit because that's a lot of information and I want to parse it because I have loads of questions about all of it. First, let's start with your take on Artemis Fowl going straight to Disney Plus.
Artemis Fowl felt like and this is not a knock on the movie, but it in an age where it's like either it's Avengers or I'm staying home, like that movie feels a lot more on the level of the Timmy Failure Mistakes Were Made movie that dropped on Disney Plus, which is really cute and really sweet and really fun and worth your time. But I think they're really starting to look at a model of like, is it an event or does it just go to streaming? And especially right now when I think the network is a little desperate for new stuff. It's a pretty obvious choice to just drop it there.
I have so much compassion, honestly, and I'll get crap for this, that's okay, but for Disney right now, because if you think about the multiple places that business is being hit, it's like parks, cruises, the theatrical experience, like all they've got left, I think they've got Radio Disney still and Disney Plus and like merch. So I think they have to be thinking a lot about Disney Plus and how to bolster it. But Spencer, I know you're a huge Artemis Fowl fan.
Oh, I spoke against the foul heads once, and I was bombarded with corrections. So I will only speak to that in the sense that it seems like the YA, and I'm sorry if it's not YA. Is it YA? It's YA, right? The Artemis Fowl books.
Has anybody read it?
Yeah, they're YA.
They're YA. Come on.
Okay.
That dystopian train has ridden off into the sunset, and movies like that. Didn't they release the third Maze Runner online or something instead of putting it out in theaters?
Oh, that was a disaster, though.
No.
That was like
they were going to make a TV show for the last Divergent book, but they did not.
That's what it was. I know one of them got derailed, and so look, They sound lovely as in little bite-sized tweets at me, the Artemis Fowl books, and but I agree. It seems like maybe this would have been a bigger deal in 2012 or 2014 or something like that, and Disney Plus makes sense for that.
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, Artemis Fowl, I was looking up. It's got a reported budget of $125 million.
Yeah.
So they're gonna lose money on it because, but at the same time. It was supposed to come out last August. Disney moved it along with the last date change for the ill-fated New Mutants. And
R.I.P.
So, it's already been moved once. It never really seemed like a movie that Disney was super excited about. in the sense like if they were, I think maybe they would have stuck with it last summer. So you have to, something's got to give as far as like, you know, MCU, as we were talking about, MCU is a little easier because everyone can just take a step back, but like Disney has things dated. And I'm sure when we talk about Jungle Cruise, like I have some theories about why that moved to next summer. Like when you're trying to figure things out, I think maybe they did the calculus and they're like, we're going to lose money on this, but we're probably going to lose less money than we would spending $100 million to market it and put it in theaters for a film that they don't seem to have a whole lot of faith in. So I think that was just whatever loss. I think they may have just decided that it was going to lose less money if they did this, as opposed to doing the whole theatrical run, giving up a release date, and maybe losing more money anyway.
I have a two-part question. One, I'd like us to think about something that we can say together every time New Mutants is mentioned, just to kind of give it a little energetic love because it needs it, just like and also with you, something to that effect. But second part is Dan, I'm with you where part of me questions like how confident that they are in the movie, but I think it's a strategic error to have the first movie that you release on Disney Plus that was meant for a theatrical release, that was like a big investment film, to not be great, because that's not going to do what you want it to do, which is to bolster subscriptions. That's what they really need right now because they have so few other revenue streams available to them. So anyway, just a thought there. Can we talk about Mulan on July 24th, but also Soul on June 19th? Do they know something we don't know? What is happening?
With Soul, I'm wondering if they've just had a certain amount of success with dropping onward sooner, like shortening that window and dropping onward straight to VOD. So that's what I'm wondering, if it's like, hey, in case everything's cool, here's Soul. And in case everything is not cool, here's exactly what you were just talking about, Roth. A really good movie to just drop on VOD and make a splash.
Pixar is the one, though, that's like, I was talking about this yesterday. Onward will forever have an asterisk next to it because it's going to be the lowest grossing Pixar film by far. And it's because it was one of the last movies to come out like right before COVID hit. Like people were already, when it came out, there was already sort of a whisper of just like, hey, I don't know if going to the theater is the best idea. And then its theatrical run was stopped after like 2 weeks. So, I mean, can Disney afford to take a big hit on 2 Pixar movies in 1 year? Because you're going to have the last movie that came out almost before COVID. Do you really want the first one to come out like afterwards when you still don't know? Like, it's surprising to me. I think maybe they have confidence, but like June seems like super optimistic. Like, first of all, it's optimistic that the theaters will be open, I think. Yeah. Secondly, it's doubly optimistic that people are going to pack them to go see this movie. I wonder if they are just trying, they want to move it, but they have to figure out 18 other things first, or maybe they're just being eternally optimistic. But I mean, I agree. I think Mulan is optimistic to say late July, we're going to put a huge tentpole gamble movie out in theaters. June is even more aggressive to me.
I'm really curious if sorry.
Oh wait, sorry, no. Go ahead. Dan, do we know if they're? I want to hear from you, Joe. But do we know if these are day and date global releases, or is it possible that Mulan would go like to other countries that are ready to have theaters open first and then roll out?
That's a good question. I think because it's such a question mark about what's happening in other countries. I didn't see any of the plans for Mulan. It was going to be a day and date release, but I haven't seen anything about their current plans as far as international release on that. I'd have to look into that.
Because that's the only thing that I could think is like if the plan isn't to release it here in the US, but to kind of almost like, and this is going to not be the right way to say this, but like a COVID cascade, like that goes open in the countries that are ready to have theaters open and then like kind of make its way around. I'm not sure. I have no idea.
I think that was a great way to say that. I think it sounded like a backyard game that involves a hose, and I think it was a great name.
Great. Thank you.
I am wondering if studios are in talk with, specifically Disney with Mulan, because of how heavily it's geared towards
I'm gonna look at
in China. And what I'm wondering is if Disney is talking to China and they have a drop dead date of, okay, the theaters are reopening now. Or not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I do. Spencer?
Yeah, I think that this is you touched on something like, is there something they know that we don't? Maybe. I mean, they don't seem to be people who are careless with their money, and I think that it would be even more of a mistake to keep moving things and moving them and moving them and moving them. So maybe they've got some kind of scoop that we don't, that the theaters will be back open by at least by July. So I just can't see them being that risky. They seem like a pretty conservative company that wants to hedge their bets, and so it'd be weird if for them to so definitively stake out these summer movies and then be like, well, just kidding, moving them again.
Well, there's a Deadline article that I was reading, and it may be because I'm sure that the studios are in close contact with the theater chains, but it was talking about AMC and saying that, they will probably be getting some assistance, as most businesses in America are getting assistance that are closed. But they were saying that, just like in a pure, one of the credit rating agencies was saying that, just based off of what they know of their finances and reporting with AMC, if they had no assistance whatsoever, they would be out of money in June.
Yeah.
Like the company AMC, the biggest theatrical, would be out of money in June. So I think that, I'm sure that the theater chains are probably a little bullish on opening, because that's AMC, and they're probably doing pretty well. But the idea of like zero revenue coming in, these companies are going to start running out of money at a certain point. And, yes, you are going to get some government assistance, but that's not exactly the position you want to be if you want a thriving company and a thriving enterprise. So I think it's like I would want to know what is the behind the scenes things that are going on right now with these theater chains, of like talking to studios, trying to figure things out. When are they going to reopen? Trying to track the virus, trying to figure out when they're going to run out of money, or how much assistance they're going to get, and how far that'll get them. Like, it's such a complicated thing to try to figure out. And at the center of it is something that you can't predict, which I'm sure makes it even more complicated.
I think it's any in-person events-based business, right? So it's hospitality, it's hotels, it's restaurants, as we know, it's hairdressers, local businesses, theaters, musical venues. All of these businesses are suffering this right now. With Disney, obviously, we have a wider scope of insight into their planning and thinking, with things like release schedules for huge tentpole movies. I think the tricky part for anybody right now is, like, for example, being optimistic, but not also at the same time seeming incoherent and seeming to not have a plan, because I think that it's worse for the consumer to say open, like for China that one week where they open theaters and then the next day shut it down. I think there's something that's more destabilizing and scary about that than just wait for the right moment to open a theater, and then people will have confidence that you have made a decision based on facts and based on knowledge, and so that we will feel more confident to be able to go. If you keep moving these dates back and forth and back and forth, we lose confidence that you have any freaking idea that you know what you're doing, and I lose confidence that I can safely go. So I actually think there's a pretty tricky balance there, and that people with this kind of platform should be very thoughtful about how they're broadcasting, what they're doing, and when they're releasing things, and when it's safe to go back out in public, because the more back and forth, the scarier it is.
Preach.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's you make a really good point, because it's not just when we're given the all clear. It's about comfort level too, right? You have events like Comic-Con who are like, we're keeping an ear to the ground with San Diego, and it's like, but even if you get the good to go, like, I can't imagine that people are going to be like, yes, now I would like to gather together with 40,000 other nerds and cough on each other. Like, I can't imagine that the public.
And that's just a regular Comic-Con.
That's just normal Comic-Con.
You're taking a risk with your health going to Comic-Con in the best of circumstances.
The con flu. That was like the prequel to COVID.
Like, everyone that I know,
year,
including myself, has gone to a Comic-Con and they come home and get like very sick.
Yeah.
Because
every Comic-Con, every year I come home and get sick.
Yes, so that's in the best of circumstances.
I would absolutely love to see a parody of Steven Soderbergh's Contagion about the con flu.
That's something you should do, actually, Joe, for us. Do that somehow. I don't know how, with budget that Max will fund. So yeah, well, Comic-Con, we talked about this the other day. Like, they may be delaying the official announcement to be told they have to cancel it so that they can get. There might be
Right.
some kind of insurance issue there
Yeah.
for them. That's just a lot of money to lose. I'm so worried about everybody. Oh, okay. Who's gonna write this Star Wars? What's going on? What's happening with the Star War? Like, I don't know. There's
Wait,
a
what?
Star War. So there's a Star War on the schedule. I was trying to lighten it up. There's
Oh.
a Star War on the schedule for December 2022. And we don't know who's making it yet.
They'll
And
throw it
that's-
together just before it comes out. It's fine. They'll get the
Yeah.
next person to fix it, and then the person after that to fix that person's fix.
Terio's on it. They're fine.
Is it the remake of The Last Jedi?
Yes,
Did it get funded?
directed. It's the remake of The Last Jedi, directed by Zack Snyder.
Perfect.
The real question
So-
is that going to go straight to Disney Plus or get the theatrical release? I don't know how much money they actually raised.
Is that the moment that we know that's a true apocalypse when a Star War goes straight to Disney Plus? That's not a TV show Star War.
Well, I
think
guess
it's
say
a true apocalypse for
Mandalorian.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Well, who's
thank
gonna
you
write? I
guys.
mean, did we? So, hallowed be his name. Isn't Ryan Johnson still technically working on more Star Wars things, or is that?
Everyone's gotten, as time goes on, everyone's gotten more and more cagey about their Star Wars thing.
Yeah. Because it was supposed to be Benioff and Weiss.
Right.
And then
That's not
Ryan had his own
happening.
trilogy.
Right.
Yeah.
Now he's weird about that. Like, everyone's Facebook status went to "It's complicated" on Star Wars, and
Yeah.
don't understand what's happening now.
Yeah.
I do think that the big what's it called?
Well,
The High
Feige's
Republic.
also working on a Star War.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Producing
true.
a Star
Yeah.
War.
Taika
But-
might be doing a Star War.
Yeah, but what's the thing called that they're doing in the games and books and comics? The High Republic, or it's not the Old Republic, because that's the
I
old.
think it
Old
is the
Republic.
High Republic because
I think it's the High Republic. I
know,
think
Ninja's
it's
Diaries?
that land. I
Yeah.
think
Are they
they're
just
waiting.
gonna
They're
show-
hedging their bets to see if that lands, because if that lands really well and they get some cool
Yes.
stuff out of it, that's definitely what the next movies are.
All right.
Would you say Disembodied, Ryan?
Yes, that's the High Republic. They just announced the characters for it. So yes.
Nice.
Is the first movie called 420?
Yeah.
Episode 420, the
baby.
High Republic.
I'll see myself out. I actually have to turn off my oven anyway. Why don't you? It's always with the oven in the middle of the show. My timing's not right when I put the stuff. I put my Trader Joe's meal in the oven so that as soon as the show is done, I can eat my Trader Joe's meal in between
That's nice.
meetings. I just
Mm.
shove it right in my face like an animal. Thank you guys so much for liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, hitting that bell, hitting that like, which means that YouTube pushes this thing through the heavens, and then mana comes down upon us, and we are able to continue to make this program for you, which is a bright spot in my day. I really love doing it. So thank you for that. Clap, 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 clap. It really
Hit
does
the
mean a
like
lot
button.
to us.
Hit it.
Hit that bell, hit them likes, love, 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 love. This is a bananas time for all of us. Please do continue to tell us what we can do to make it a little more enjoyable for you as we sit and talk to you from our people boxes. I'm going to tell you about my high-tech setup that I have at home. I have my computer on a Pellegrino box that's on top of a Harry Potter swag box that's on top of an Us swag box. So don't be jealous. I feel like 14-year-olds have higher tech setups than I do, but we're doing it for you because we love you. So please do continue to tell us what we can do to make this fun for you. This is a crazy time, and we do want to use this platform to call out to things that we believe in. We've been calling out to Direct Relief, which is a global organization that works with public health authorities and nonprofit organizations and businesses to help deliver equipment, much needed essential equipment to the health workers on the very front lines responding to COVID all over the world. So please do give it a like, give it a share, support if you can. We'll be coming to you with some other organizations as the week goes on and as the weeks go on, and we will continue to come to you with shenanigans. So here's a Marvel thing, y'all. Ant-Man 3 has a writer, but it's not on the schedule. Let's get into it. So
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man. What? Ant-Man. What's happening?
Ants.
Ant-Man.
Ants.
So I just so you know, I'm not able to watch the video and read at the same time. So I do not know what just happened, but
Perfectly
I'm sure
okay.
it was
That's
perfectly
fine. Nobody knows what happened.
Jeff Loveless, a writer and co-producer of Cartoon Network's acclaimed Rick and Morty, which you guys love. This is via THR. Has been tapped to write the next Ant-Man movie. Peyton Reed is already back as the director. This wrapped up in the early days of the shutdown. And then Marvel hasn't publicly announced it yet, as said. So I have no idea where this would fit into that schedule that we just talked about. Is it a Disney Plus thing? I don't know. I like the Ant-Man movies, but not a lot of people do. Or I don't think as many people do as I do. But thoughts? You guys love Rick and Morty? Is this exciting news?
I think more so than just liking Rick and Morty, I think Feige and the MCU have a really great track record of spotting potential. When some directors of Community were tapped to do Winter Soldier, I was kind of like, what? Okay, that's weird. And they've done an okay job since then. For the most part, I think everyone that they've sort of, plucked up has for the most part avoided that symptom of studio goes, you've made one cool art house thing. Now we're throwing you in the deep end of a massive big budget movie that you're going to get lost in. So I think they've got a really good eye and ear for potential. So I'm excited to see what Pickle Rick guy does.
Yeah, I love this pick. I think that there is like a quasi Rick and Morty vibe between Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas. I think that you can see that. I really like the Ant-Man movies, and I really like them being like this kind of sideshow to have fun and to if you want to make them even more sci-fi, now they can travel, to different dimensions and get really weird. And it already feels like a Rick and Morty episode because it's really out there and it's got a lot, even more comedy than your usual Marvel movie. So lean into that. I'm excited.
Especially now with the microverse and all that weirdness. I think it's a good fit.
I feel like Ant-Man, out of all the franchises that Marvel has, is the one that like not only can be, but almost needs to be aware of how silly it is and dumb. And I thought that the first movie did that really well. I think where I fell off with Ant-Man and the Wasp was like it almost got too into like it was like, hey, here's these tiny people that can shrink, and look, it's a big salt shaker. Oh, and then it's like, and now let's talk about this character's chronic pain. It's like, whoa, hang on. Like, there's a lot of characters in pain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, I think Ant-Man is the one that's like, yes, let's take advantage of the fact of like you can go to all these crazy realms and different things and shrink and go big and be like, I think you have to like, that's their go have fun one. And that was the downfall for the second one with me, was they almost tried to ground it too much instead of like, just go nuts, just go crazy. Like, don't have a fight scene in a restaurant. Have a fight scene and like you can shrink and go big as much as you want. Like, have a little more fun with that, go nuts. And that's certainly something that is the sensibility with Rick and Morty, which is they take a lot of advantage of the fact that they can literally go anywhere.
I'm glad to see that Stuart has joined us and probably has some insight to weigh in with.
Big fan.
I want to be really clear. It's for me personally, it's not that I don't like Rick and Morty. I've just never seen it, but it's on my list. And I'm sure I will love it. I loved Community. I agree with that. I really like Ant-Man because I think it does its own thing. It has a very particular tone. It doesn't feel as beholden to all of the other movies. It has some liberty from being so enmeshed and tied in, and not unlike Fast 8. Dan, you make a good point. Where Fast 8 screwed up was they had it right with the chase on the glacier. That's where you're in the right lane. The glacier chase. You had it wrong with the like angsty my baby. You had it right with Jason Statham running with the baby on the plane.
Right.
You had it wrong with Charlize Theron having absolutely no idea what freaking movie she's in and basically being the dullest James Bond villain ever brought to screen. So like, I think Ant-Man 2 struck a better balance than Fast 8, but it did suffer from that a little bit too.
I do, after they introduced all the microverse stuff, and I'm hoping that hiring someone like Loveless can really push in this direction. Something I was thinking about after they really started doing subatomic stuff was, the wacky tease that Men in Black movies constantly do at the end where they're like, uh-oh, our planet is a marble and a sack of other marbles. Like, I think that's where you go with Ant-Man.
Sack of marbles.
Yeah, you go to the
do you
you pay
remember?
off the sack of marbles.
Yeah.
And
More
see what
marble
that's all
stuff.
about. Like getting
Yeah.
weird.
Multiverse.
It's
Yeah.
so
Sack of
weird.
marbles.
And I don't want a multiverse to be like, in this universe, Captain America was German. Like, I want to go to a multiverse where, like, there are no humans and everyone is just a series of triangles. Like, that's the Ant-Man weirdness that I want to have.
Triangle Man.
Triangle Man.
Hates Particle Man. Whole new universe to explore. They have a fight. No spoilers, but Triangle wins.
Triangle wins.
Isn't that now part of the Fox Disney universe? That's from Always Sunny, right? So that's on FX.
Oh my God, you're right.
Whoa.
Oh, I thought it was an Always Sunny reference, and I apologize.
It could be.
Oh, that's Dayman I'm thinking of.
Dayman and Nightman are also part of it. Yeah, the fighter of the Nightman. Yeah, right. There's a lot of men.
So
is not Dayman now part of technically the Fox Disney universe?
Yes,
he is.
Yeah,
You're
Dayman
right.
and Nightman.
He's a champion of the sun. You better look out for that guy.
He's a lover of friendship
And karate.
for everyone.
Yeah.
But could he take the full force of a dying star?
You bet your
Champion of the
goddamn
sun.
sweet
Come on.
butt he can, sir.
Yeah.
This is day frickin' man.
As long as he pays the troll toll.
Yeah. Well, you got to pay the troll toll. You got to pay the troll toll. If you want that boy to go. Oh, let's just stop. So good. It's one of our classic modern rock operas.
Yeah.
And I encourage everybody to enjoy it fully. Oh
Yep.
my God, I want to see Dayman in the MCU so bad.
Yeah.
Hey guys, watch this. So no one told you life was gonna be this way.
I wish there was a thumbs down.
I do too. I do too. I'm so lonely.
Fan questions. We've got fan questions. First, I have questions that we just come back, Joe. We love you. These are my questions that I have there that are for the fans. So like
Roth's
we want to open up to have you guys ask us questions, but I actually have some questions for you. And they start with this one. I was so hungry the other day, and I treat myself twice a week supporting a local business with some takeout. And I really wanted sushi, and I'm unclear about where we're landing with sushi and COVID. And I need you guys to weigh in with some advice for me about, can we eat sushi? Spencer said yes.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think, look, you can never be 100% sure about anything, but I think that, like, as long as you take it out of the container it came in and be careful with that, then wash your hands before you eat it. I say go for it. I'm a doctor.
I think to be safe, you should cook it before you eat it.
Okay.
I think just to be on the safe side, just cook it and then you're fine.
Solid advice for my sushi consumption.
Mm-hmm.
Joe,
Marcus,
in
weigh
your
in chat. You asked the chat, so I'm answering. I'm giving you chat's answers.
Okay.
No, cooked food only says toast. And,
but toast, of course, would be advocating for cooked
biased.
food. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very biased
no
take from
sushi.
toast.
Kim says never eat raw fish. Period. Yeah,
That's a good point. It's to be a bad time to get sick for some other reason, then you'd feel like a real horse's patoot. Yeah.
To go to the hospital, you mean?
Yeah.
I think you're not allowed to go to the hospital right now unless you're like, I think you can't go to the hospital right now.
You go to the boat here. We have the
There's
boat.
Yeah.
You can go to the boat.
Harbor party. Let's do
I
it.
just want to go to the doctor boat.
Hey, I'm the captain of the ship. I'm healing you. I'm the captain of the doctor boat. Doctor
He's
Boat.
going to start a
Mark
movie
called
Wahlberg
Dr.
coming
Boat.
2022.
Just never would have happened if I was in charge.
So much.
COVID would have come and I would have been like, bam, bam. There would have been a lot of blood and then me standing there.
Anyway, here's my stethoscope.
So
Joe,
what was the
any
word
more
on
advice
sushi?
from the chat?
Everyone is like everyone is saying no to sushi, but at the same time, I think we're seeing a lot of anti-sushi bias in general because there's a lot of Mercury
So,
mentions and
You know what?
It seems like we don't like sushi.
It was
yeah,
set off
people
by
are not into
Toast,
sushi.
who notably has
Although
a bias. So I'm gonna
Subaru
move on.
Malibu says drink enough sake and it will kill all the germs.
That's
There
true.
you go. I like to hear that. That's where. Thank you. I'm going with that as my answer. Here's a second question. I don't feel like I'm equipped any longer to do outside clothes, and I think what's become very clear is that outside clothes were always too binding. Why did we do that to ourselves for centuries? Like, we didn't have to do that to ourselves.
That's your question is why are clothes?
Why are clothes?
I mean, I think people from like the 17th century who had to wear like corsets and like, 18 layers would probably think that we've got it easy. So
Like, why aren't we just wearing pajamas all the time? Why isn't that fashionable?
I feel like we have been steadily creeping that way. If you take the wide scale view, like Dan said, 1700s, we were all buttoned up and we've been slouching towards Bethlehem. We're like now wearing athleisure wear. We're wearing sweatpants. I wear sweatpants to work. No one gave me shit for it. So it's stuff.
Early into knowing Spencer, he said that his New Year's resolution was to be more cozy, and I was like, this is the leader I can follow.
So I think this is just accelerating a trend that was already in the air.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm now going to move. Those are my questions for today, but I'll have more tomorrow. As a reminder, if you guys want to chime in later with your answers, the questions are, can I eat sushi and why are clothes? We're going to return to a couple of questions from last week. Margot had asked for some advice about getting into the digital media industry, and we're just going to take it person by person. Over Cobra Commander, I thought, gave us some great advice on Friday about that. And today, Spencer, you're going to give your advice on that, because whenever we do all of us, it takes a full hour. So person by person, first Cobra Commander.
The digital media industry. That's a wide term. So I will just say, is Roth going to get her food? Okay.
Turn off my oven.
Take your time. So I don't really have much advice because I think everyone's journey is different. But I will just say that no matter what it is that you do or want to do, try to get a job at the place you want to work at, or even a place just doing the kind of thing you want to work at, because they're going to ask you to do everything eventually anyways. I think that if you start there as a writer, you will end up being a producer and person who has to talk on camera. If you start there as a producer, you will be asked to be a writer or it's also mushed up and mushed together. The roles are not as clearly defined as they are in, say, television or film. So just get a job there, getting coffee, and before you know it, you'll have your own show.
I think you're speaking from direct personal experience, but
I've been in more than one. This wasn't my first rodeo. I've worked in a couple other digital media places, and it's like everybody ends up doing everything.
I think that's solid advice, and it's really true. And also, I think one thing that I would crystallize out of that is that be adaptable. Because this is a landscape that changes all the time. So you have to be able to do a lot of different things. But what do you need? You need me to play the drums? Watch me be Animal. So Forensic Chick had asked for some mini reviews, movies to watch that are available on streaming right now. I've actually been going to the back catalog to try and dig up things that made me happy when I was young and watch them again now. But have you guys, we've talked a little bit about The Hunt and Invisible Man, which I think we all liked, and Emma, but has anybody seen anything over this past weekend that you would recommend for folks?
I haven't watched it yet, but I'm really excited. I was telling Dan and you about it before we went live, but Shudder has, and you can rent it on Amazon, but they have this movie called Headhunter. The trailer looks great. It basically looks like Alien, but in sort of a Dark Ages fantasy type world where some kind of beast killed this guy's family and now he's just in the woods trying to kill it. And it looked really scary and really cool. And I will report back as soon as I have watched it.
Awesome. And while you're on Shudder, you will also be watching
First Cut of the Dead.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
One Cut of the Dead.
One Cut of the Dead. That's what I meant.
Exactly. Has anybody else, Spencer, Dan, have you guys seen something over the weekend that you would recommend?
I'm still going through TV backlog. We're catching up on Saul. We're doing, Yeah,
Better Call Saul is fantastic. I would recommend about the first 15 minutes of episode 1 of Peaky Blinders, and then I fell asleep. But I was really enjoying that setup. That Murphy, man, what an ageless face he has.
Well, I would recommend I would recommend some of those things too. I'm catching up on television. We had talked about Devs, Spencer,
Devs
last week, and when that wraps up, we'll return and do a little more Devs talk. I'm obsessed with your Devs fan theory. So if you guys haven't seen Spencer's Devs fan theory and you like Devs, it was in an episode.
Couple episodes back.
So you just got to watch all of them and then share them with other people in order to get that golden, juicy fan theory.
Something I would really suggest, actually, because the last season drops at the end of April, so you'll be just in time. The Last Kingdom on Netflix is great. If you have a Game of Thrones shaped hole in your heart, especially, it's a fantastic show about like the Dark Ages in England. The lead is awesome. The battle scenes are fantastic. The cast is really great. And if you start now, you'll be ready when the last season drops.
Cool. I also fell asleep during a Portrait of a Lady on Fire. So
Oh, Spinny.
It's great,
beautiful
Spencer.
and it's very quiet. Very quiet.
Yeah.
Very quiet film. And French.
It's like a weird one to watch right now. I know there's a bunch of people that have been saying, what would your Oscar predictions be if like movies didn't happen and for the rest of the year? And I swear the best movie that I saw in a theater this year was called First Cow.
Right.
I want to see that.
Really
me too.
slow and like you will definitely fall asleep, Spencer.
No, I just need to adjust when I start watching movies, which is far too late at night.
Yeah.
Well, I also think that because anyway, that's a later discussion. We will talk about how to watch movies during COVID in upcoming episodes. Thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you guys for joining us today. But I mean, you're contractually obligated to, but it's still nice to see you. And I like your faces. And I'll see your faces again tomorrow.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
Sounds fair.
Bye.